Shut up!
So there are two ways of going about things. You can do it intensively,
right,
for a short amount of time, or you can do it smoothly, not as heavily,
like leisurely.
Yeah, exactly, and prolong it, right? So you do a lot less for a longer amount of time, or you do a lot of heavy work for a short amount of time, and you call it a day.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what I do, right?
Do you take that approach when you practice? Like when you practice marble? Because mine's a little bit more like new age science, where it's like I go really fucking hard and focused for like 30 minutes,
right,
and then I'll stop for 10 or 15 and like, I don't know, jerk off or like do something else. I'll come back.
2K.
Yeah.
NBA 2K.
Something, and then I'll go back.
So the reason why...
So how do you go about it? Because I go about it that way. Like 30 minutes and I stop. Mm-hmm. Or I do 30 minutes of like practicing one thing and then I'll stop completely. Yeah. Move away and then I'll come back to it.
Okay, alright.
So how do you go about it?
The way I go about it in marble is different. Simply because you're not gonna get exhausted because of your muscle usage. Mm. So when you're doing this, like I'm doing like body weight, right? So it's not free weight. That tires you really fast, right? Especially if you're coming back into it.
Right.
Right? In fighting games, right?
Yep.
The only thing that tires a lot quicker is your glutes. Because you're sitting, you have to stand up, you have to do a little walking, you have to drink to stay hydrated.
That's work.
So what I do is, I go ham, I sit down, I play, and I try to implement whatever I come up with, seeing if it has any gaps. I I am a little intricate about the things that I know that I have. Do they work? What can they do? Can they do this? So I know how it works and how it fails. And I say, okay, is it worth doing? And I go about it. Then I move on to the next thing. But I just keep on going and going and going and going and going. Because like my point of exhaustion when it comes to fighting games is really high, because I can play for like long hours without even getting up. But since no, I'm more self-aware now than I used to be before. I stop and like, okay, I need to eat. If I start feeling a little headache, I'm like, that's because I haven't eaten anything. I need to drink water because of dehydration, and I need to eat something. Because remember, you're not going to start processing and learning new things and analyzing things better if you have nothing to feed your brain.
Right.
And I need to eat, so I go and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop. When I eat something, just get my rice, my white rice, and my chicken.
The mini wheats.
Exactly. I love my chicken, and I do that. And
how do you love your chicken though? Like, what's your seasoning of choice? What's your preferred delivery of chicken? Like, do you like that rotisserie chicken that you get at the Cuchi Frito, or do you like...
I hate that shit.
I love that type of chicken. I love it. I live for that. With like the brown skin on it, where it's like on the rotation.
No, I'm a soul food type of chicken guy. I like fried chicken.
Okay.
I like fried chicken, but it's funny, right?
Right. He just finished. He was crying about the chicken spot. I know he was.
Listen, it's like, as I tell you this, I'm just like, you see that scene in the Infinity War thing when everybody's like, I don't feel so good, but it's like instead of just freaking disintegrating, right? It's like I'm going into chicken spot bit by bit.
Right. Like you're just teleporting to the chicken spot.
I feel so good. And I'm out of the picture. But yeah, so it's like when it comes to chicken, I like it either way. Fried chicken is like one of my favorites, right? I love it. Like fried chicken, you can't go wrong with that. Come on. I love that. But I also love the same thing you said.
Right.
I try to like taste. I love the chicken. I love chicken so much. I love it so much. But yeah, so going back in, to the same thing. In fighting games, like I can last for a very long amount of time. Like when it comes to something, and it's crazy. It's
and
like
that's natural.
That's natural. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's always been a thing. So
it's not natural for you, right?
No, not at all. For me, I get like decision fatigue very quickly in a fighting game. So it's like I apply kind of like a scientific approach, like Frankie. So it's like 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and it comes like in conjunction with sets. So like when I was playing with you the other day, I was playing sets. After that second set, my decision fatigue was so high. I was just like, listen, man, trying to space out and trying to make right decisions, it's just not happening after like 10 games. And that's when you know you have to take a break.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, that's kind of my trigger.
Yeah, I knew we would have to take breaks because foot dive, like
easy button
every time, and like
he just won the game.
As soon as he started doing it, I was like, all right, like, I know it's time to chill.
That is horrible. It's like when I was playing against Prodigy. Like I don't remember like playing against Prodigy. Like I really like playing against these guys because the thing is like they were so ham and also calculated at the same time.
Mm.
You knew that if you couldn't stop them, you couldn't stop anybody who was better than them.
Right.
And you know that's why I like playing Prodigy because Prodigy was like, bro, if I don't stop you, then I lose. Because they think about it like that, right? And they just go, they go with the one-way approach. Either I go in or I die, right? Mm. And it was very respectable because it works. And you know, Prodigy is like one of the most disciplined players I've ever played in Marvel, right? Disciplined because this guy would go into training mode and he was just burning hours and hours just trying to do this infinite. And whenever you played him, you know that when he hits you, he was hitting that infinite.
Right.
So that was the robot mentality.
Yeah.
He was robotically, you know, robotic in terms of execution.
Yeah, to be fair, I think there's space for that too in training. Like, it doesn't have to always be 30, 15 minutes.
Exactly.
You have to spend some time, like, grinding out for, like, 2 to 3 hours, just, like, like, trying to stay focused, because that's what's going to help you in tournament settings, too. Like, I find people who suck in tournaments is because their stamina isn't up there.
Exactly.
Like, they'll play really good for the first 2 rounds, but then there's a bunch of standing around, there's a bunch of waiting around.
Yep.
There's a bunch of little ancillary things that you don't think about. You're not eating for the time that your pulse is going.
Exactly.
You know, you're uncomfortable, so then when you finally sit down and play, you're just not yourself.
Right.
I see that a lot. So, yeah, maybe there is room for that. Maybe you should start trying to, you know.
I mean, I run parallels to that in boxing, right? Where it's just like, you kind of want to have that solid game plan, not only in your matchup, right? But you also need to be physically aware. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you're gonna, like, say for example, I was like fighting you, hypothetically speaking, in like a boxing match, right? And then I was like, well, I know what you go for, I know your techniques. First off, I need to be able to make those good decisions, right? Gotta make those good decisions over, like, under fatigue, right? So it's like, how do I consistently make good decisions when I'm tired? Which is kind of like that tournament stamina that you're talking about. Yeah. And then also, how, you know, I need to make sure my jobs are on point. I need to make sure my execution is on point. So it's very important. I think it's also understated. Sometimes it's overstated where people just put time, like they put too much time into execution and not enough time to everything else, where it goes back to what, you know, just balance.
Yeah.
So it's like you should balance that with matching, like, you know, matchup knowledge. It's just very important in terms of like a solid training regimen, just like in fitness, right? You don't want to just do like one kind of variation of exercises. You want to vary it up. Yeah,
that is true. And a lot of people, you know, burn a lot of time into just doing this combo, doing this. It's like, okay, how are you getting the hit?
Yeah.
Like when I was learning MODOK, when I was learning MODOK, I was like, hold on, it's not about the combo that I know. It's about what leads into that combo. What are the hits that I get the most? And I realized that the cat is just so damn weird. Like, so damn, not even the way he looks or moves. It's like his confirms are just absurd. Like, you don't even know when they're gonna happen. When they happen, like, you have to make like split second decisions. Yeah. And you're like, what do you do? Like, what buttons? And you know, I started doing that. Right. I started just, okay, so what if they get hit by lock trap while they're grappling? What if they get hit by lock trap while they're jumping? What if they get hit by lock trap at the very tip of the log at super jump height? What can I confirm with? What do? And I started doing that. And I started just doing cubes. And because I realized that I would get a lot of hits from like raw cubes. And that lock trap would just hit confirm. And I'm like,
right, I need to make a split second reaction decision.
Like, oh shit. I'm like, that's great. And then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, what's the shortest route to actually confirm without me actually fatiguing my hands and my brain? Because you want to be able to actually have some shortcuts. You don't want to be dashing all the way to the screen when you can just throw a cube and then do a dash and jump and dash.
Right, because it's not like MODOK has the best like plank dash.
Exactly. Not only that, but it's like execution-wise, like, let's say that everything just boils down to taps. It's a lot easier if you just do this.
Right.
To doing this. That's a lot more energy because you have to focus on speed, consistency, and the force you're applying to each tap. Right?
It's just a lot of variables that you have to account for.
Exactly.
Like in a tournament setting, you want simplicity.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah, because like historically, like the people I know who have like so-so execution, like they change like the cadence with how they press the buttons based on their emotions. Like if they're more upset, they're more likely to hit it harder,
right?
And then their execution goes a little bit like to shit. Whereas like the people with good execution, they're kind of even keel the whole time. Like they either play the way that they play no matter what.
Exactly.
And they don't miss shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there was something like to that.
That was one of the things, right? And I was like, okay, so I need to see how and what I need to do in order to get it, and what not to do when I get hit, when I get the hit. And I started realizing, I'm like, okay, so and I just started training different scenarios that have not happened, and scenarios that I found out while I'm training mode, things that I found out by mistake because I make a lot of mistakes execution wise, but that leads to other other openings. I'm like, that's crazy. I messed up and I got a mix up. I can just work on that.
Well, what's the most common one?
The most common one?
Yeah, that like came from a mistake like that, like where you drop some shit and you're like, oh man. Oh man.
I think. Let me see.
It's got to be Raccoon, right? I mean, because people don't even know when Raccoon or MODOK mess up,
right?
You know, like they're like people don't know the character, so
okay,
right?
Because you're usually hitting people based off of like some kind of unconventional height on the screen,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get the wall bounce, so you're just like, what do I do?
This is weird.
Yeah. One of the ways I found out about stuff like that was when I was doing like boulder loops. I remember that I did a boulder loop, right? And because if they neutral tech, they just roll right. They just wake up into the next coming up, right? If I just want to keep them I want to keep them in the corner, right? I just backdash and look at them choosing, and that's it.
Okay.
I just look at them choosing, like, oh, so they're not going to neutral tech. They're just going to roll into it. And then if I backdash, if they do a forward roll, I can see them, chase them, and confuse them too. So I can do that. And I think I messed up while backdashing. I call an assist, and then I thought to myself, wait a second, that's it. If I'm backdashing, I can preemptively call my assist so that I cover both the point character and then topping assist as they roll forward.
Right.
And their assist is off screen. Not only that, another instance of that is I started realizing that during matches, people assist just kept on getting hit by the cues, and they were doing like unsafe stuff. I'm like, yo, what the fuck happened to my assist? And it was that I was tagging them with cubes. I would throw a cube off screen, and because it lasts 60 frames, that's a second. That means that they were getting tagged. Was Marvel 3 60 frames per second?
I think so. The new releases.
No, the old ones.
The old ones, I believe it was 60, or it went down to like 54 during gameplay.
If it was 30, then it was actually 2 seconds for the cube.
Wow.
Analyze cube, and you would see it. But even after
it went away, it'd still be out there.
It still had it's still active. It's crazy. So I was doing that. I was tagging them with cubes. And it's crazy. Another thing that I found out by mistake too was that I realized that a lot of people like Dual Kevin used to push block. Like they were so good at push blocking that it was hard to actually open them up. But it was the opposite when it came to the cube. The visual was still there, but there was no hitbox. I remember that I messed up, and I realized I'm like, shit, this is fucked up. I can just do it preemptively, and when they come in, I can just do forward heavy punch, and I'm gonna wall bounce them because they're gonna try to push block the non-existing cube.
Right.
And I did that in a tournament at Defender North to get second place against Raider.
Wow.
When I played against Kevin, I did that, and Kevin tried to push block, but there was nothing to push block. So he got
caught.
You can go back and watch that, and it was ridiculous. Like I did that plenty of times.
That was Winter Brawl?
That was Defender North.
Oh, the Defender North.
2016, I think.
That was losers final, winners final.
That was losers.
Losers final.
Yeah, we were both in losers.
So talking about hitboxes, right?
Yeah.
You switch. Not many people know this about you, but you switched from PS3 controller, right?
Yeah.
With the converter, you had a really laggy converter.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
Back in the like late vanilla, early Ultimate days.
Mm-hmm.
What made you switch to hitbox? Because I felt like that did wonders for your execution.
I have an answer for that already.
Okay.
Because in the first episode of my podcast, I trashed hitbox users because they're like using PEDs. Because I think that shit is so cheating. It's not cheating, it's hating. Because I wish I could use it. Because I see the benefits of having your direction inputs on a button.
Sure.
It's right there. It's like so. It's so crazy. and I'm envious of it, but I won't go there because.
But it's such a big transition from playing on a PlayStation 3 controller to a Hitbox.
Right, and that's why people don't think it's not like people think it's fair because of how hard they think the Switch is. You know what I mean? Like, not many people are gonna want to, you know, willingly take that plunge and devote all that time to learning another, you know, controller, like another medium. So like that's the biggest hurdle. But after that, I mean, there's nothing but positives, right?
Yeah, that's nothing but positives. That's for sure. One of the reasons why I actually switched to Hitbox was because of what you mentioned already. I was just freaking tired of losing to, it disconnected. I'll take the game. Fox is like a big example of that. And that used to happen against them, against some other people. Some people just let it rot, but you know, it didn't feel legitimate if I beat them, right? And if I lost, it was still the same feeling. So it was never a win-win situation. It was always like you lost regardless. Regardless, right?
It was like always an extenuous circumstance.
Always an extenuous circumstance. And then it was
at least it's something to point to, right? Like it's you know.
Yep.
It's an excuse that weak people can make.
Yeah, and I was always afraid of it messing up. I'm like, oh my god, I got the hit. I hope this shit was messed up.
Right.
Well, I'm doing my comment. I'm thinking, please not mess up.
Yeah, you can't be thinking in those moments.
And you can't be doing that. It's like that's mental power. You just draining. Just draining from draining away from your training. You know, your constant tournament play.
Yeah, and like how can you achieve flow if you're like thinking of
you're thinking that your flow is gonna get broken now. It's gonna be broken later on. It's random. Absolutely. You don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen.
Right.
So I was like, I got to a point where I was like, I'm getting tired of bringing a converter, bringing two controllers because freaking Xbox, the Xbox ports are locked. They need an Xbox pad.
Yeah, the whole GameStop inventory.
Right.
Travel bags.
So I was looking like an RPG character, just going from tournament to tournament. You have found the key. Play. The key is going to run out because it has a timer. So I had that problem, and it was something that was haunting me for the time being. So I remember that I watched, I think it was an MK9 video a long time ago on YouTube, and that popped back into my head, and I was like, I remember someone mentioning something about a controller called the Hitbox, and they were talking about, because I remember that I for the time I would just look at MK9 footage, and it was just archives on YouTube, and there was this one time, there was this guy playing Cabal, and he was playing on Hitbox. He was talking about how ridiculous it was that he was doing the lowest humanly possible to the ground air firewalls with Cabal, and the pressure was just insane. And I was like, I wonder what that meant at that time, of course. And for some reason, it just sparkled in my head. I'm like, I remember they mentioned this controller. Let me just do a little research. I started just digging through the YouTube archives, and I found the Hitbox channel, and I was looking at it. I'm like, wow, that looks great. I love this because I love directionals, and that's the reason why I play on the D-pad or pad. I love this. There's a lot more control.
Right, and to set up the stage, this is like 2010 when Mortal Kombat 9 was like relevant. Wow. So, like Hitbox wasn't necessarily a standard at that time. It was extremely unconventional.
It was not a standard. All right, go ahead.
So this was me, like I think, like back in 2013. It's 2013, I think it was. I was thinking about it. I had a job, and I was in school, so I was like, now that I have the money, I did a crap ton of research. I went through their videos, like, how do you have someone who doesn't know jack S about this device, or whether or not you're going to spend your money on it, so actually, get some benefits out of it.
Well, you can curse if you want. I'm not monetized. Okay. I'm not sponsored. You can fucking curse. If
it
really pisses you off, you can curse.
You can say shit. Okay.
You can say shit.
So if you're doing that, right? You just grind the living crap out of the videos. Like you're just watching videos. You're watching like 7 minutes long, 10 minutes long videos, just so you can see people executing the moves and stuff, how it looks. And I was doing that. I was just like sitting there, like a zombie, like. How to do this? Okay, DPs, firewalls. Okay, cool.
Because you don't necessarily have $1,000 to drop on a Hitbox, so whatever investment you made, you wanted to make sure that it was founded on that
I was convinced,
all your bases were covered.
Yeah, that I was convinced. I was like, this is gonna be something that I'm gonna spend my money on once, and that should cover me for quite some years. So after watching so many videos, doing a lot of research, reading, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And I got like $240 because it was 20 plus the shipping. And oh my god, I'm never gonna regret that. Once I got it, I was like, wow, this feels great. And I was doing fireball motions, and I'm like, wow, I could never do this shit on stick like this. I could never pick a new device and just do shit straight out of the box. And I was like, this feels great. It's just movement that is weird. The up button, like the up button took me a while. But it was because of the time.
Where's the up button on it? It's on. Is it where your thumb is?
Where your right thumb is.
Oh man, that's so fucking weird.
And it's weird at first, but then after
Wait, your right thumb or your left thumb?
Whichever suits.
Oh, whichever one you.
Yeah.
And you use your right?
I use my right or my left, depending.
Oh, okay, depending.
Yeah,
okay,
but most of the time I use my right. Because remember, you want to take most of your load work, most of the workload, off one hand. So you have your 3 and then you have your 4 in this.
Oh, I see.
So you want to divide it, right? You distribute it. So.
But you played on keyboard.
No.
You never used to play on keyboard?
I hated playing on keyboard.
Okay.
Because the problem about keyboard, it's interesting, right? Because the reason why a lot of people stay with keyboard is because precision, and there's no input loss.
Right.
When it came to just doing it straight out of the box to the device that you're playing on, right? So you're playing on PC. What's the fastest way to access your inputs? Keyboard. It's not like, oh yeah, I need a converter or I need these drivers for this, so this can work. No, that's the thing. But when I tried, I was like, there's a problem. Ergonomically speaking, when you go from one key to the other, you have a key that's way too high, right? And when you try to roll, you're not rolling. You're just tapping, and that doesn't work like that.
Right.
You're missing directionals, and that was my case. And I never liked it because things were not aligned properly. I was like, nah, I'm never gonna get good at this shit. and I used to play online in Calera and for Marvel 1.
For MAME days.
Jesus Christ. And then I moved on to GGPO. We were playing as T. Kimura, many of these guys. And yeah, so that was that. And I was like, this is great. Everything is buttons. Everything is well spaced out. It feels amazing. I said, I just have to put in the time. Doesn't matter how long it takes me. I already spent the money on this shit. I better just grind the living hell out of this. So I either get good or die trying.
Damn. Like a skeleton on a setup. Just
Day 2000, still grinding with the Hitbox. Right. But it was like that. I'm like, I need to get good. I need to get back in. It's like I'm not focused on getting better than what I was. I'm focused on getting better than what I am right now.
Right.
I need to get to the level that I was when I was playing on pad, and I need to do it now. And then I had the backlash from the community. Puncher, you're gonna fall into obscurity. Oh, Puncher, everybody's gonna want to pick you up, but you're losing to everybody. People you never lost. And I'm like, that's fine. It's okay. You just gotta grind a lot more.
But then you got picked up by
things where things. It's crazy because it looks like they picked me up right away, and they're like, but
no.
Yeah, no. But it's like it's funny because let me
started from the bottom. So actually,
But okay, so the way things worked was that at that time I had too much school and work, so I was spending like 5 hours a week.
Right, which is relatively
horrible.
Nothing.
That is horrible. That is horrible. So and then I massacred myself.
Now, were you refined on Hitbox at that point, or were your 5 hours dedicated to refining Hitbox?
Like, were you already at the pad point? Were you at that level with the Hitbox yet?
No. Okay. I spent 4 months on that horrible grind. That was just 5 hours, and that was it. And I was just like, every time I went to a session, I got bodied. I'm like, oh my god. My brain is moving too fast. My hands are not reacting. My hands are numb.
Yeah, because it's one thing to try to play Hitbox and
and think
do it. Yeah, but do it on a Street Fighter, and then doing it with Marvel, that's different. It's not. It's not the same. Because I touched the Hitbox once. I was at Next Level, I think it was, and they just had a Hitbox out, and for whatever reason, Street Fighter was plugged in, and it felt foreign. But it felt comfortable. It was weird.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what the buttons did yet. My hands didn't know. But it still felt pretty comfortable. It was hard to explain.
Right.
But trying to play Marvel or Dragon Ball Z, imagine on a
especially
Hitbox,
Marvel 3 where you have to do your APM, your actions per minute are so high in Marvel 3.
Right.
Because I'm
just neutral,
I'm moving, right?
Especially in neutral.
I'm fainting, and it's just
especially in the 99-second.
Oh yeah.
Mark. You don't want to mess up there, because if you mess up there, then
that could be the entire game.
Yeah.
That's the entire game. You spend like 1 minute in this corner, and then you've been just demolished.
Congratulations, asshole.
Exactly. There you go. And then you get hit on infinite. Like you have no idea how many times I was like, oh my god, I wish Prodigy didn't know infinites, because we could play a lot more. Because every time I got hit by an infinite, I felt like my time was being wasted.
You just gotta hit him with the option select. No infinite. Stop it.
And I just had to accept it, man. I used to get so salty watching that infinite, watching my health getting drained away, and I'm like
slowly, right?
Like I would have a conversation with myself, and then I would have like my internal Prodigy and me just talking to each other, like, Prodigy, did you know that you could actually you could spend a lot more quality time learning how to avoid this and that if you were not doing that infinite for like 2 minutes. I was thinking about it at the same time, and I'm like, yeah, I have to get aware of that. It goes for a stupid TC.
No, but see, but that would be a point of interest for me if I was a Magneto or like Doom player, is that I would try to play casual sets without using the infinite.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like that would be like a point, like to try to train yourself, like to improve your neutral, right? Because you have to land the hit, right? It's not just
like playing against him. It was always tournament.
Yeah.
And I like that.
No, yeah, he's a killer.
Because you know that he's all about that grind, that money, that one game, and I like that. I didn't like the infinites, but I liked it because that prepared me mentally to accept it. So if I win a match, I'm like, it's okay, he can drop it. In my head, I'm always, he might drop it. If he doesn't drop it, I might block the incoming.
No, he did.
Okay, I might block the next one.
Did he go over the infinite?
He did. I think he dabbled in it.
Why didn't
more of him was actually
MVC3 players just in general go over the infinite? I don't feel like.
Okay,
I feel like a lot of them didn't go.
I'm gonna hit you with the joke, right?
Okay.
The joke and the reality, because they suck at it.
Okay, is that the reality or the joke?
It's both.
Okay.
let me tell you why I say this.
Okay.
So you know what team I played, right? I played Iron Fist, Rocket Raccoon, and Hawkeye, right?
Yes.
You know they're not killing you in one hit, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I had to play a lot more neutral. I had to allow people to play more neutral. Yeah. I was fine with that. I was not fine with getting grabbed and dying.
Right.
But I was fine. Here's the problem: when you cherish stuff like that, you do not get better. There's a big difference between being able to to actually get further because of that, and being able to get further because you're so much of a better player. Right. Now, I'm not questioning anybody's capabilities of doing better in tournament, but that was a huge thing that took a huge toll on people.
Right.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Because
they were used to, I hit you once, I don't have to work for it again.
Right.
But here's the problem. Here's what goes down when it comes to stamina and being able to being creative, because a lot of people were not killing you in one hit. They had to rethink things because now you have resources that you can use again. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about Infinite. You get 2 hits or 3 hits and then you kill a character. Mm-hmm. But now you got the box. You have the songs. They were not used to that. They were used to going ham and being rewarded for it. Mm-hmm. They were used to having an assist always covering their ass.
Right.
And this shit is like, your character's your assist.
Yeah, when you play that way, like the floor is higher, mm-hmm. but the ceiling's lower.
Sure. Exactly.
I could see why they struggle.
Not only that, it's like you don't have the hindrance of movement being really goddamn good.
Right.
So that characters who were the 1% movement-wise could shit on the other ones because they could not catch him. Now everybody can get caught. Mm. Iron Fist sucked mostly because he could not stop people from outbacking. And if he was in this game,
right.
If Iron Fist were in this game, he would have been a totally different character who would be actually good.
Mm. He should be in this game. That would have been amazing.
He should have been in this game.
I feel like a lot of Black Panthers in Iron Fist, though, in terms of the execution and the way the character moves.
Mm-hmm. But I don't like it. Yeah, Iron Fist he should have been in there too. He has his own Netflix property.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Let him rock, yeah.
But it's like Iron Fist, like his movement. If he had his movement in this game, that would be crazy because he would be able to cover the screen so much faster in the ground.
Yeah.
That would make no sense. That guy would be ridiculous, dude. And the buttons, because now all back gets hit by everything. So you don't have to worry about whether you have a low or not.
Oh, right, because there's no chicken guard, right?
I was not a huge chicken guard.
Right.
So I'm the type of player. And that's something that killed me a lot in Infinite. I'm sorry, in Ultimate. Right? But in my transition to Infinite, it was fine.
It's easy.
A lot of people are like, oh my god, a chicken guard. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, fucking pussy. You don't want to block? Yeah. You want to back for your life?
Yeah.
There's no back in here.
That's
right. I feel like a man now.
See, I feel like in terms of like the difficulty of Marvel 3 players transitioning to Infinite, and I had this myself when I first started to transition to Infinite, right? It was the motor learning that you did over the past 5 years. Like, you played a team and you played a play style that was...
I played Infinite before anybody else did.
Right. So, you know, playing the meta in Marvel 3, like the Magnetos or like the Dantes or the Striders, where you're just programmed to steamroll someone. You program for that one hit, and then it's on to the next character.
Exactly.
And then it comes into like a bit of a difficult situation where you transition to Infinite, and in Infinite you can't necessarily steamroll somebody in that same way. You have to get at least 2 to 3 hits. You don't have a hidden missiles or a plasma beam at all times off screen to cover that assist to land that one hit to kill.
And even if you do, guess what? You're gonna stay out for longer.
Right.
They take forever. People say that assist actually just recovered too fast, and I'm like, no, you guys are stupid. You don't know the amount of time that I've seen my main character get knocked down, and for some reason the game decides to just put him in sleep mode, and my character is just like facing down. I'm like, motherfucker, get up already! I'm gonna die! Like, what the hell is this shit? So you get the cooldown from the character being out, and then they get hard knockdown, and then they're like taking a nap, especially when they're like face down. I don't know how that works, but sometimes when characters get knocked down and they land on their face, they take longer to get up. And that is weird as hell because it happens randomly. Just randomly. So many times I've lost against Sonic Fox and many of the other guys because of the same thing. Like Rocket Raccoon had not recovered and he was off screen. I couldn't tell. So that was the thing. So the reason why a lot of Marvel 3 players is because they didn't accept that. They wanted to have the same thing. I touch you once and you die. That's it. That's my game. The one-player game. Because the less interaction a lot of people had, the better they felt. Right? And that was the thing. But in my case, I knew that was the characters I played they were not gifted. Right? They were not well endowed when it comes to that, right? So I had to adapt. I'm like, I have to accept it. I'm not going to be able to do that, so I have to play out more neutral. And by forcing them that, I save resources. And I know that it's not going to work. And I know my limitations. And I work around it. I worked around it. And it worked out really well. And MODOK was like the best addition to my game ever. Because he implemented one-touch kills through risk and reward. Right. It was not free, like, oh, I hit that infinite. Yeah, this is not free. Or, oh, yeah, I hit this infinite. I got 5 hours. I won, even when I'm losing.
Now, are you referring to that in terms of the transition to infinite, or are you talking about that in the vacuum of just ultimate?
Both.
Okay.
Both. They go hand in hand. Because I played like this for so long, transitioning to infinite was like nothing. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
I remember seeing you on the leaderboard on PC, and this man was like rank 30 within like 3 hours of the game on PC. I remember going on, I was like, Ultra, he's like Magneto. And then I look at the leaderboards and Gil's like on the top, and I was like, what the fuck, Gil?
So do you think that like difficult transition from the ultimate Marvel players to the infinite Marvel players that hurt Infinite's ability to be at EVO, like not having that backing from a whole, it's like it was building a community from the ground up.
I would say it hurt the game overall. Like,
just having people trash it.
Yeah, because then you had the same people who appreciated Marvel 3 trash the game.
Right.
And instead of being like, I don't like the game. And that's fine. I don't like the game, that's fine, right? But it was crazy because like it just snowballed. They couldn't let it breathe. Right. Because you could have gone back to playing Marvel 3.
You could have. That's always an option.
Right. Exactly. You could have always done that. But no, you have to ruin the cake for everybody else. Because you don't like piña. You're going to be like, I don't
You're
like
going to piss on the cake? Just because you don't like the flavor?
Exactly. Everybody else can go, take a dig to the ass. And I'm like,
so
you don't do that.
So here's like my thing. I think... This is just my weird little theory, but I think every year at EVO, the game with the lowest entrance should be on the hot seat for the next year.
What do you mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like it needs to be on that. Like it needs to be on the hot seat. On the this might not get put in next year.
Right.
Because with so many games coming out now, we got Dead or Alive coming out, Soul Calibur, Tekken's constantly getting its patches. Street Fighter 5 is obviously getting its patches.
Definitely.
Dragon Ball Z came out of fucking nowhere. The Blaze Blue, on the tag game.
Right.
Guilty is still kind of going strong. KOF always brings the hype, but the numbers aren't necessarily there every year. with all of that happening, and Dead or Alive just got announced at E3.
Yes.
Right? And Soul Calibur 5 got its updated trailer and all this shit.
And who knows if there's a new Mortal Kombat getting announced
right.
at E3.
So there's and Injustice still has its cup, its circuit, and all that stuff. I think the games with the lowest entrance, it might be 1 or 2, because I don't know how many they can fit into that last slot on Sunday. I think that needs to be on the hot seat. Like, it can't be this thing where they just deliberate it, you know, on, you know, like the EVO staff deliberate it in their couch or on their couch, and then they just like tell the people like what it is.
Yeah.
It has to be that the game with the lowest entrance, just because it was unfair for Ultimate. I mean, for Infinite to kind of just get the shaft that way for a game that hadn't even come out.
For a game that, as of this recording, came out about 1 or 2 weeks ago.
And the selling point of the game was that it was on the EVO lineup. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's something's funny there. It doesn't, you know, it's not kosher. Like whatever happened there with BlazBlue and Infinite.
At different majors too. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Right. Like every scene has its strengths and weaknesses. You know, like if you went to, I don't know, probably the West Coast, you wouldn't, like, you would think that Tekken is a strong scene over there. If you would go to Atlanta, you would think that Tekken was the only game there because of just how popular it is over there. So every scene has its strengths and weaknesses, and that's the point of having like a world tournament, right? Is so that everybody can come together and compete. Mm-hmm. But like, I think I just didn't like the way Infinite was handled, you know, because there is a responsibility on EVO's part to, you know, to support the games that got it there. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you know, before, you know, Third Strike, you know, put...
You're the cat. The cat is going to try to bite me again.
Just kick him. Yeah, just kick him. So before...
we don't condone domestic, you know, cat abuse.
No, I meant mush him with your foot,
not
kick him.
Right.
Like, not physically kick him. Like, not curb stomp the kitty, you know, you just mush him with your foot.
Right, just a little dab.
So, a little push.
Hashtag PETA.
Right.
So, big shout out.
Yeah,
right. So the point about Marvel is that between, you know, 1999 or 1998 when like the B5 series was going on, and 2004 when the Third Strike Evo moment happened, like the Daigo parry happened. Before that, it was Marvel keeping Evo afloat.
Yeah.
It was Marvel 1 and Marvel 2 keeping that tournament series, and CVS 2 and ST, of course. But it was Marvel was the main event. Marvel was the game that was played last, you know, before that whole Daigo shit happened. So I feel like, you know, you have like there is a precedent to really supporting that game.
Right, like the legacy.
Yeah, you have to, you have to honor that. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of shitty, but it like again, like the community made it easy to do that. You know what I mean? Like Ultimate Marvel players made the game, you know, made it easy for EVO to like take a shit on Infinite.
A lot of them.
You know, if it wasn't for the community like kind of fighting each other, like doing this infighting, then it wouldn't have been that easy. You know what I mean? But I think
they were part of it. And plus, you know, the other people who just hated it, people just from some other places, random people, like, oh my god, look at how shitty the game looks, and then I'm like, are you serious right now?
I mean, I had a lot of hope in Infinite personally because I dislike Street Fighter 5 that much. That I had a lot of hope for Infinite, like to come in and Dragon Ball Z to kind of like take that, but I didn't expect Dragon Ball Z to like overtake Infinite. It was like a weird thing that happened.
I feel like it was more like a perfect a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Where, you know, like the reputation for Infinite got snowballed. It became a meme at that point.
Exactly.
And when it becomes a meme, doesn't matter what would have came out, the reputation would have already been solidified.
First impressions are everything.
Right.
Yeah, that was
and let's be honest, Marvel Infinite had a really shitty first impression. Yeah. You know, just from the visual presentation. Yeah. The gameplay amazing. I don't think anyone had anything bad to say about the gameplay. But the presentation was pretty subpar.
Yeah, and the special edition.
The Infinity Eggs.
Yeah, the Infinity Eggs. So, it was just a lot of things that didn't go right for the game, like as a first impression.
Right.
And that's kind of like the nail in the coffin, almost, like especially for finicky fighting game fans.
Right.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
But then also, like, you take that and you combine it with the amount of love and appreciation that ArcSys did for Dragon Ball Fighters. And, you know, Dragon Ball FighterZ was in all ways considered the spiritual successor to Marvel 3.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that momentum and all of that adoration, because most Marvel, I would go out and say most Marvel 3 players, most Marvel fans are also Dragon Ball fans.
Yeah.
That's
so you had that carryover.
Yeah, that IP is too strong.
Right.
That's the thing. I think that was the biggest selling point.
Yeah.
Not only that, the arc says the you know the arc systems. Oh yeah, they're good. They're blah blah blah. Because if that were the case, a lot of people would have switched to Guilty Gear.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true.
And that has never been the case, right?
Yeah, like
it's the title, it's the the nostalgia.
Like I was gonna buy Dragon Ball FighterZ no matter what,
right?
But Arc Systems being involved made me think, oh, this might be an actual fighting game tournament thing.
Exactly, because you know they take care of the fighting games.
Yeah,
you know that, right? But then again, Dragon Ball. Like this is the first time that Dragon Ball was gonna be done right.
And I'm a huge player of the Budokai games, but those games competitively were not the most refined. Like you could play them competitively, but I mean, come on, let's not.
I like it.
Let's not.
You seen any Japanese Budokai footage?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
You know what my favorite pastime is? It's watching Super Dragon Ball Z footage, like Japanese tournament footage from Super Dragon Ball Z. We'll see it at some point later on today. But Krillin is so OD in that game. Krillin is just good. He just has really fast overheads. Him and I think Frieza are just they have really fast normals. But that game is just very pretty to watch.
Super Dragon Ball Z?
Super Dragon Ball Z. It was made by the producer of Street Fighter 2, if I recall correctly. But it was like a hidden gem that came out in 2004 for the PS2.
Wait. Super Dragon Ball?
Super Dragon Ball. Yeah. So between that and, you know, Budokai, those are the most competitively viable games at that point, you know. And then, you know, Arxis dabbled in that 3DS game, which is pretty good. I think it's called Extreme Budokan. But Dragon Ball FighterZ was really that game.
Yeah.
So just only like drive like it. Not only did it drive like the casual scene, it was like, oh my god, it's a 2D fighting game, but make it actually viable in a competitive sense.
Yeah,
so I feel like that was just the perfect storm.
Yeah, because casual fighting game fans really like the game, and hardcore fighting game fans who enjoy Dragon Ball Z like the game. Mm-hmm. But like actual casual fan, like the really casual fans who don't really fuck with fighting games, they actually don't like Dragon Ball FighterZ at all. Like they think that you should be able to transform mid match and. Like there should be more character. So it gets a little funny there at that point. But the point is that the IP is just so strong that they could make that mistake and it not affect the overall like opinion of the game like by the people who want to play it.
It's like Apple. Yeah. They can do whatever the hell they want. People are gonna throw money at them.
I always thought the most interesting part, and I still have a hard time suspending disbelief. With Fighter Z specifically, where it's like, how can Super Saiyan Goku beat Super Saiyan Blue Goku in a 1v1 match? How is Yamcha competitively viable?
Right, but
that's the Xenoverse in me. That's the Budokai 3 in me, where I used to play with the top level Super Saiyan 4 Goku and just steamroll everyone else.
Oh yeah, because in Part 3 you had like more health, like too, right? Like your character was godlike.
And you had more capsules. You just had more abilities when you were a higher level.
Makes more sense.
That's so unbalanced. That's so crazy. Oh my gosh, that's like whenever some people just say, dude, do you think that this guy is like Spider-Man is gonna be like struggling against Ryu? I'm like, I think common sense, bro. It's a fighting game.
Speaking of that, though, how do you think? Like, do you think that the 2v2 kind of set it back?
No.
Infinite,
no.
It being 2v2,
it makes it a lot more personal. Simply because you don't have to struggle with the third character. Your third character is actually your stronger.
I think the roster set it back.
The roster.
Just in the amount of numbers, because most people weren't going to care with how many characters. I guess let's compare. Most people kind of skip Marvel 3 or they glazed over it, like the casual scene, just because of its limited release window in 2011, right? Most people that I talk to who don't play fighting games think of Marvel 2. So they think of all those 54 characters, or 48, 56 characters.
Even though only like 10 of them can actually compete.
Sure, but we're speaking like casual like scope here, right?
Yep.
So you have characters like Gambit, Ken, like a lot.
We could get back to that though about the 10 characters only because I got. Go ahead.
Sure. So like Marvel 2 had a boatload of characters, and like for every Ken that wasn't necessarily competitively viable, a lot of casual players love characters like that and Gambit and Jill. a lot of characters that were first-party Capcom characters that are not in Infinite. So the first and like the biggest complaint that I saw from casual players playing Infinite was, "Where's Ken? Where's Akuma? Where's all these badass characters?
Wolverine?
Where's Wolverine? Where's the X-Men?" And
no X-Men, no buy. I'm like, wow.
Right. I remember vividly on my Instagram, I posted a video of Marvel Infinite, and my friend's like, "This game is trash. There's no Wolverine in it."
That's right.
And I had nothing to say to that because I could defend the game, but he was right with that statement. There was no Wolverine in it.
Yeah. That was the biggest appeal, man.
Right. But like
the X-Men.
In Marvel 2, like you said, there were only like 6 to 10 characters that were competitively viable. And in Infinite, I would say that a lot of characters are viable in that game.
Almost everybody. The reason why...
But our playstyles like viable.
Yeah,
because to me, the reason why Marvel 2 lasted for so long is because even though there were only, I'm gonna say, 4 to maybe 6 point characters in the game, with a few more assists, so it's added up to maybe 8 to 10, maybe 12 if we're getting freaky. At the end of the day, you had many different playstyles represented in the game. You had the runaway playstyle in Team Scrub, Cable, Sentinel, Commando, if that was your thing. You had the rushdown, flashy MSP or MSS playstyles if you wanted to do that. You had the control playstyles in the
spirals.
In the spirals, or the black hearts, or even in like Storm Scent shells. And you had the scrubby one, Commando, and you had like the more like the harder one to use, but probably the bigger ceiling with Cyclops with Team Matrix. So I think that the reason why that it worked is because you had so many different types of play styles that could win tournaments. Whereas I don't know if I don't know Infinite. You guys need to educate me right now. That's why I'm asking.
Right.
Are different play styles viable in that game? Like if I wanted to play a runaway game in Infinite, would that win?
Yeah, definitely.
From my experience, and I've played the game for a few months, but I'm not as up to snuff as Gil is. I feel like there's 2 different types of play styles. There's like the cautious kind of zoning, semi-zoning play style in Infinite, with the I'm gonna go ham to balls to the wall play style in Infinite. Because most offensive characters play very similar, with just little nuances in their neutral. But a team like Gil's, which was Hawkeye, Raccoon, right? That team can rush you down and keep away well with not much difficulty in both.
I saw a lot of grievances about Raccoon. Why? Is the character really good, or is it fucked up?
I've heard statements that Raccoon is the most broken character in the entire Marvel vs. Capcom history. And Gil, you've been getting a lot of shit on Facebook defending Rocket Raccoon.
I love it. I love getting the flack.
All right,
because it's like you can't mix hate with objectivity. You can't do that. And let me tell you something. People say, "Oh, Raccoon is the most broken shot." I'm like, "Oh, really? So you're suffering from Alzheimer's right now because you just forgot the 6 years of Morgan. You forgot about that. You forgot about the character who can kill you with chip damage, right?"
What makes Raccoon perceived to be cheap? Like, what makes it cheap?
Okay, what makes him completely cheap is the fact that things that he didn't have before are a thing now. So what do I mean by this? So now he doesn't have to struggle to actually get to you, because once you land in one trap, that's it.
Right.
You're done. The work is done for you. So now you just dash and you just collect your tax money, and that's it. you get body right there. A lot of people, like, "Oh no, Raccoon," but it's like Raccoon is not rushing you down like there's no tomorrow. He's not unstoppable. "Oh, we're setting heavy kick." Dude, you just walk and that's it.
But I feel like the difference in Marvel 3 was the abundance of mobility options. So it's like, sure, like Morgan was extremely oppressive, but if you were a Magneto player, you had a higher chance of being able to outplay Morgan's oppression with like spacing and disruptors and assist calling. Like, it was hard, and it was definitely a matchup always in Morgan's favor. But I think the argument that anti-Raccoon players are saying are that because of the lack of mobility options, it's just a slower game in Infinite, that he's just that much more oppressive, or he has that much more opportunities, that much more options. What do you say to those people?
Well, the thing is that the Raccoon is not the problem. The problem is actually the system. Fix the system. Because, again, you're not dying from chip. once you land in a trap, yeah, you have to block the high-low, but he cannot do it again like that. It's not like everybody's doing Sonic Forces lockdown and then everybody's winning. Because if that were the case, then how come there are not more raccoons dominating?
Right.
When was the last time you saw a raccoon winning a major?
It's a very good question.
There are a lot of people who get knocked out by raccoon. I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna say that the character's not busted, but he's fair.
Right.
He's beatable. He has like glaring weaknesses. He cannot fight armor. He cannot fight invincibility. He cannot fight projectiles. Right? This does not go through everything anymore. And that was the only thing he had. Like that was really actually broken. Like broken as hell. You know, you cannot push block him, but again, if you make this stuff push blockable, then you're killing the character completely. Right. How is he gonna get cheap?
Right.
Cheap doesn't mean anything in this.
So it's like if you try, like, the approach that you would take is like, okay, whatever strengths that Raccoon has, it's a byproduct of the engine of the game.
Yeah, free.
That being said, it's a lot easier to fix a character than it is to fix the game. You can't really adjust the game to fix one character.
You can adjust the biggest problem is if movement is a problem, then maybe allow people to move around faster.
Right.
You know how dashes work, right? So but then again, here's the problem: if you focus on fixing Raccoon, right, and you don't focus on fixing what makes the game suffer, or most characters suffer, then you got to think about. If you make everybody, if you make the movement just as good as in Marvel 3, then we're gonna have the same issue we had in Marvel 3 again. Hagar couldn't catch Magneto.
Well, that was one of the worst matchups I think I could ever visualize.
It doesn't matter.
Hagar versus Magneto.
Magnetic blast!
I don't know, but didn't Campbell River?
He did. But he lost the exhibition though.
Yeah, but grand finals.
But again,
right. He got the money.
It was not just Hanger; it was a combination of the three, right?
Right.
So
I don't mean to cut you off, yes. But I feel like that's a downfall in a lot of players is that they blame the character, but in a competitive environment, you want to increase your chances of winning as much as possible, right? Because the whole point of a competitive environment is to win as much as possible, to win as consistently as possible. This is the whole premise of competition. So I feel like it's misguided to critique a character in a situation that possibly in Marvel, if it's not necessarily going to get patched, just because of extenuating circumstances. If you know that Raccoon's your problem, why won't you just find a solution to it? Even if that means playing Raccoon yourself. And I know, that's not a popular statement to make because a lot of people, for whatever reason, they don't like that character. Mm-hmm. But if you're playing the game competitively to win, you should, in all sense of the word, use what you can competitively to increase your chances to win. Right? Because you want to win. You want to win at all costs. That's what you're playing this game at that level for. Yep. Talking about Street Fighter 5, you were playing Karen, and Karen's a good character, but you felt like it wasn't playing in your playstyle.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And you changed the character to that.
So monotonous. When I saw monotonous, I was like, yeah, I need to play this guy. And I tried it, I was like, yep, I love her. She's super hard, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm doing my best, right? And that's what I did. And I've been doing that ever since.
So how are you doing in Street Fighter 5? How is Monat?
How's Monat? Well, she's a lot better now. She got buffed recently. So she's now I understand the character way better. Like I'm doing even better. And then on top of that, you put the buff. You take a look at the buffs, and it's even easier, right? But it doesn't mean that I didn't have to go through all those losses to actually just play the character. Right. It's not like you're gonna play in a Kali. You're gonna be standing heavy, and then get a mix-up after, right? Or you do something that is just safe and just keep it going. No, you have to slow down. You have to stop at some point. And you can still lose because with Monat, you just make one mistake, right? And second hit, you stop.
Now, is your training style? Because we talked earlier about Marvel Infinite and Marvel 3, right? And how you approach training different. Is it because Street Fighter 5 is a much different game? It's much more offensively driven. It's much more, I wouldn't say set play driven, but circumstantial, right? People say you got to wait your turn, right? So in terms of getting your turn, in terms of training, what were you able to transfer from Marvel to Street Fighter? How is your training style now in Street Fighter 5?
Well, my training style is the same thing I used to do Marvel. You know how in Marvel, like, you have situations where you're like, okay, so what did I get hit by? What can I do? What could I have done better? And, you know, I try to find that one thing, right? So let's say, you know, I'm playing like what I was doing earlier, I think last week. I was playing Midnight. And I'm like, I know the ball toss is -8, but I need to see what I can do at a distance. Just to make sure that I'm actually beating out people's normals when it's their turn because of the priority system, right? And I realized that if they were doing a jab and I do a stand-up or crushing medium punch without the orb, they're getting counter hit. And I'm like, wow, that is fucked up. That is fucked up. And if you wait a little longer, like, you can just confirm, it's fine. If you do it too early, you might lose. But if you wait, then you're kind of hitting them because your attack is actually heavier than their lights.
Right.
And then, you know, when they collide, you win. The person with the heavier attack actually wins. And that's why you see a lot of crouch counters and stuff like that. And, you know, that is one of the things. The other thing is the other thing that actually transitioned from Marvel to Street Fighter. It's you know, just grinding for hours, just doing the same combo. I can sit down for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, do the same combo, then do different variations. I'm like, oh wow, I made this mistake, but it looks like I can make this into a combo. Let me give it a try. And I tried it, and then, oh my god, this got like I came out with a combo, right? That allows me to not even have to move towards the character to actually combo them. I can combo them for like almost full screen, and they end up like behind me. So yeah, it's funny. So, you know, it's just a combo where I actually confirm from standing medium punch. I go into the orb. I do standing medium punch again. I release the medium kick orb. I'm sorry, medium punch orb plus medium kick orb, and then I toss my orb, right? When it hits them, I release another orb. They hit again, and I make them explode. The explosion pulls them towards me, and as they're falling, I get the orb back. I release the orb on top of me. They get hit, and at the same time that I'm doing that, I chose the light punch orb. It sits down. The orb from behind that orb that's on top of me, right, hits them again. And when I do the explosion again, they get hit, and they go behind me. So the other thing that I do is I toss the heavy orb, and the orb at the bottom behind me activates. And because they're falling behind me, they get hit by that. And then I correct the motion,
right,
and I do my super, and they get hit.
You know, it's funny that you mention all that, because as a Ryu player in our sets that I'm playing, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to move forward, I'm going to press back, I'm going to press one button, and all of this is going through your head in the middle of this game, and I'm literally just in one frame of mind. Okay, well, we just got one button I got to press. Okay, I have a fireball. Can't do it here.
I mean, but that's the trade-off, right?
Right.
With like low floors, lower ceilings. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to think as much, but you won't get like a 30-hit combo if you make the right read, right?
Right.
Whereas he has to think a lot,
Exactly,
but he gets more out of it.
And not only that, it's like by the time that I get the hit into V-trigger, I have to see the spacing. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right space. I can go for this. We're like, oh shit, I got the wrong. I gotta go for something else. And then, you know, I go into that, and I'm like, okay, can I keep it going? Should I? When I'm doing my stuff, I'm thinking, like, should I go for this? Should I go for the reset? Yes, no, and stuff like that, you know. And then after that, I'm like, okay, it's really cool. So I can switch it up. And I go for something else. You know, as I told you, you remember what I told you. You know. I don't know if you've heard me say that I'm actually godlike by accident, right? Because I turn my mistakes into something godlike. I do that a lot. And, you know, whenever I'm playing against people in Infinite, I'm like, you're like, are you fucking serious?
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I told you, I'm godlike by accident. Right? And they just laugh it off, you know. They go from being solid to being, you know, super entertained and stuff like that. And the same thing for Street Fighter, right? So, playing Street Fighter, you know, I came up with a technique that I actually hit Stanford with, and he was like, the fuck? Like, you know, like the expression that I get, the expression that I get from people is like, how the fuck did you know? And, you know, like, he didn't say it personally, but he was like, he just looked at me like, motherfucker, how do you know? And it was the scenario when I actually knock people down, and I know that they want to get in so badly that their next thing is going to be just a jump. So what I do is I do a bait. It looks like it's coming towards you, so you want to just like you say, well, if it throws, he's gonna throw the orb towards me. I'm gonna jump out. I'm just gonna jump in and hit him. But no, if you wake up, you get hit me. If you jump, you get thrown on the first frame of you jumping. The first frame that you're airborne, you're gonna get tossed back into the ground. Like, no, don't do that. I was waiting for that. No. When you get denied that, it's like your mind goes into the state of, why?
Right.
Is he in my head? What's going on? And that's exactly, that was the pressure from Sanford and some of the guys. They were like, how the fuck do you know? I'm like, it's not that I know, it's that I condition you. Because like you're tired of getting all day. You're tired of that, right? And now you want to jump in because you've seen me like doing too much on the ground, too much on the floor and stuff like that. And like you wanna be able to make people think otherwise. And that's where things just fall into pieces. Right. They fall into pieces, and that works to on your favor, right? And that's what I was doing. I was doing a lot of that, and I realized that like I caught on to the habits of people like playing people online, and I realized that was a thing for people playing against them or not. That it's going to be a point where they're going to want to jump, and that's going to happen. It's not like you're going to guess. No, you know it's going to happen, and it happens, and you catch them. Against them, more grounded people, it doesn't happen like that. But it's amazing when you do that, and people see it work, and they're like, "Yo, what the fuck? How did he know?" And if you go back and watch like some of my matches online, I do that all the time. Because now that's my go-to tool. I know people have been tired of just getting hit on the ground when they're trying to jump in, and by the time, and I let them think that they can jump out, because I wait a little bit, and the moment I see the category moving on the ground to get up.
And I think that's the greatest strength with Monot, especially in Street Fighter V, is that people have conditioned themselves, just generally speaking, and being overly aggressive in Street Fighter V, because the meta is dictated by being overly aggressive. You have your Akumas, you have even your Guiles, your Karens, Season 2 your Lauras, right? Urians,
Mika,
everybody.
The whole cast, everybody who's worth a damn, does that.
Can oppress. So it's like having a character that can really normalize it, and you make them like uncomfortable in their own silence.
Exactly.
And it plays to like that strength that you had in other games. Yeah. And it's interesting because you and Sanford can kind of run like a parallel where Sanford played Marvel 2. You weren't really big into Marvel 2, it looks like, right?
No, not at all.
He transitioned to Street Fighter, you played Marvel, right?
Yeah.
And then now here you guys both are playing Street Fighter 5. So it's like he's more like habitual in terms of Street Fighter 4. So his habits transition from Street Fighter 4 to Street Fighter 5, whereas your habits transition more from Marvel to Street Fighter 5.
Exactly, yeah, that's definitely a thing. And when I played against him, he actually complimented me. Like he complimented me a lot. He was saying, "You're really solid. You're really solid. Please keep playing the game. Play the game. You have a lot of potential." He was telling me yesterday. He kept on telling me that. Yeah, so I played like.
How'd you do yesterday?
I wouldn't want it to, dude. I got destroyed. I lost to the guy who got 4th place yesterday. I don't know if we see Chris Battle. He's really good.
Yeah. What does he play?
Vega.
He plays Vega.
Claw.
So I lost to him, and I lost to who else? Oh, Predator, I think it was.
TA Predator or
no Predator.
Okay.
That's another guy. He plays in the Cali.
Oh yeah.
I hate that matchup.
Predator versus Punisher. I feel like this is like the most 90s fight you could ever have.
That's for sure. But I crumbled. Against the Cali, it's like things get a little too messy.
Right.
And I need to play that matchup a lot more. Like the more I play it, the more I know what to do. Because again, that's the game. The game is, the more you memorize your situations and what to do, the lot better you're going to be doing. Because there's a big difference between losing to situations and losing to someone being better than you. And that's the thing. And that's one of the things that I've seen that I've been losing a lot to.
And it's understanding the difference.
It's understanding the difference, yeah. And I see that. I'm like, I might be better than this person, but if I'm not better, than them at the situational stuff, then I'm just as bad. So I need to get better at that. I need to play a lot more. You know,
not everybody has that self-awareness. You know, like to be like, oh, yeah, he's doing some scrubby shit, but I'm losing to it, so that means I have to improve.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like the common pitfall is he's doing some scrubby shit. Why is he doing the scrubby shit?
Right.
And it's not understanding that you can control what your opponent is doing if you react to it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's like, you know, you're losing the stuff because you don't know. Just realize it. Just say.
Like, how can you get him to either make that ineffective or make him not do it? Like, how can your actions dictate his decision making? I think that's an unconventional. I don't know why it's unconventional, but it's an unconventional way of looking at what your opponent is doing.
It's hard because you have to make sure that you realize that early during the matches. Because if you don't see that game one, you're gonna lose all the games, especially in Street Fighter, which is like 2 out of 3. Right? That's too short. There's no learning. Like the adaptation, it's like that's like you see how we were talking about, you know, fatigue and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's not even time for you to get fatigued.
Right.
You get frustrated really fast.
Yeah.
And even though you're not fatigued, it's like you reached your cap.
Yeah, you gotta have like strong, like a really strong
mindset,
like autopilot. You know what I mean? Like in order to do well in Street Fighter 5, and then be able to like make these little ancillary adjustments based on what your opponent's doing.
Right.
But it starts with a strong autopilot. Like there's only a few like people who can play a whole tournament playing against like that player, like playing against their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a few people who can do it, and like it's super hard. Most people like get to the top 8, and that's when like the tournament really starts for them, or at least top 32, like where they start playing other like good players.
Mm-hmm.
But you will exhaust yourself if you're trying to like play every person to who they are, because then that means that you have to get a bunch of information round 1. And if that round doesn't go your way, then you're already working from a deficit.
Right.
Right? But where, like, you just have to have a strong autopilot. That's why Manat's so good. This is what we're talking about off air. It's like people were, like, saying she's so fucking cheap because for 3 years they didn't have to play anybody who can zone them out. And now they're...
Nothing stopped them. They could just move forward. But now when you just go and get your balls out, you're like, hey man, I got more balls than you. What are you going to do?
Literally.
Like,
nothing.
I can't believe that people could complain about Manat when characters like Abigail were out there like wreaking havoc in Season 2. God, he was the reason I picked up Manat, to be honest. I heard it was a bad matchup for him. I was like, alright.
And they still...
Fierce Punch?
Still
okay. Like, because it's just unfair to me that a character like that can exist.
Right.
Where he has all this health, all this damage, and all this 50-50 potential. And they fixed him, sort of.
2-bar V-trigger.
Yeah, exactly. And they fixed them. I'm not going to complain about them, but the point is that they let it exist in the first place.
Exactly, yeah. They let people get the dreams crushed.
Like, it's insane to me, like how they keep designing these characters. And I enjoy Falk too. I think she's an easier version of what Manat does. Like,
really?
She keeps people out, and she can like be oppressive too, but it's like not in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I picked up Falk too because I stopped playing 5 as much.
Right.
So like I still have a little Manat there. But Falk is probably like who I would go to in a tournament because it's easier. Like it's like the execution is simpler. I'm not gonna get as much out of Falk with every given read like the way you would with a Manat, right?
Yeah, but the damage is way better.
It's still good.
Damage is so damn good. I'm like, wow, son, come on already. Like, it's done. That's not so bad.
Well,
for Falk.
For Falk, yeah. And you stopped playing Angel?
I'm still playing Ryu.
No Guile? I thought you were gonna switch to Guile.
I was, but then I realized that Ryu, kind of like Falk, has like a lower like ceiling in terms of execution. So I'm like
compared to Ryu.
Yeah.
Why? What does Guile do that's hard to execute?
Nothing.
Okay.
I just really enjoy playing Ryu.
Yeah.
Okay, then just say that.
So
don't delay the
really enjoy playing Ryu. You know, I may have cosplayed him once or twice, like 5 million times.
Right, he's in your heart.
He's in my heart. He's in the heart of battle.
You have cosplayed him.
Not the heart of Chris battle, but the heart of fucking battle.
But he's not admitting that he has cosplayed Ryu for the entirety of his life.
Right.
In his mind.
So something about Ryu's tools, even though they're not necessarily effective in Street Fighter 5 against
not the way you use them.
No, not the way I use them. But
you have to be a nut. With me, like all the really good Ryu players now, they play like nuts, and that's how you have to play.
You go in or get out.
Right. Whereas with Guile, he kind of does what you want to do, right? You want to be oppressive in a shitty way, and then punish people when they try to get in. Right?
That's the both worlds.
Right, Trish?
Have my cake and eat it.
Yeah.
And with Ryu, I just want to have my cake. But I'm on a diet, so I don't necessarily want to eat it.
You guys ready to play?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah?
I was going to say that just right now.
Let's
right.
go.
When are we going to play?
Yeah, let's play. Let's do it.
Right.
Sign off. We gotta sign off. It's gonna fade out
Outro?
eventually. Nah. Fuck yeah. We're too cool for that. It's all fade ins and fade outs.
Okay.
We don't even know that all this shit is here.